Hey, how's everyone doing? This is David Des, and I just want to take a moment to say that the PS2 was sick. Whatever variety of game you were into during that console's era, there would always be a high quality title in the console's library to fit your gaming taste. Racing games, 3D platformers, JRPGs, rhythm action games, sports games, 3D beat 'em ups, survival horror, action adventure games, fighting games, first person shooters, Britney Spears simulators. There truly was something for everyone on the PS2, and that's thanks to the console's gigantic selection of software, which by the end of the console's lifecycle reached over 3,000 games. Madness! However, the downside to having such a vast collection of games available for the PS2 is that some games in that selection, no matter how good they are, get lost in the shuffle and don't really get praised or recommended all that much when the subject of great PS2 games comes up. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 games in particular that fall into this category. Okay, I think we can begin. Okay, let's do it. Alright, let's start the countdown. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. The CGI animated movie boom of the 2000s saw a ton of computer animated kids movies fighting to be the next Toy Story or Shrek, and a lot of these movies had tie-in games. Most of these games were mediocre to bad, but there were some good games among these titles, and a good example of a diamond in the rough among these sorts of games is Surf's Up, the official game of the 2007 animated movie that attempted to, pun intended, ride the wave of the world's brief infatuation with penguins that was sparked by the 2005 documentary March of the Penguins. Now, I'll be real with you, at the time of recording this, I've not actually seen the movie yet, but I first encountered the game when I found it in a box of games that were being given away for free at a gaming convention. I took it home, played it, and I was surprised at just how good it was. I really enjoyed it. I was equally surprised at how the game doesn't get talked about all that much. I thought it would get more love from the Gen Z late 2000s nostalgia crowd. Surf's Up is essentially a simplified, stripped down, beginner friendly version of a Tony Hawk's game. It gives you the opportunity to do tricks and board-based shenanigans in the air like a Tony Hawk game would, but instead of giving you big maps to free roam around on, the levels here are tightly condensed into what are basically racetracks with a computer-controlled camera constantly pushing you forward. It's like a on-rails version of a Tony Hawk game, and it's a really fun and challenging variation of that idea. The fast-paced, constantly moving nature of the levels keeps you on your toes and urges you to get a move on and bust out as many cool tricks as possible. And when you do land those cool tricks, it feels really rewarding to do, because the wave that you do tricks from is really just a travelling half-pipe that gets obstructed by constant oncoming rocks and icebergs that could wipe you out. So being able to get your penguin to do sick tricks under those circumstances really feels like a satisfying and special feat of skill on your part. In addition to fun, core gaming mechanics, the game also has a nice selection of the movie's characters to play as, each with their own abilities and specific stats. Also, there are lots of collectibles to pick up and unlockables to uncover along the way, so there's a good amount of stuff to keep you busy. The game is also really nicely presented. The graphics that accurately represent the visual style of the movie hold up really nicely, and the visual diversity of the levels are very easy on the eye. The environments range from the cool, icy blue colours of the Arctic seascape to the tropical flavour of the beach themed courses, and they all have a really cinematic sense of scope within a limited amount of space, and it all looks great to this day. If you're looking for a board-based sports game that's easy enough for a beginner but challenging enough for an experienced player, I think you should check out Surf's Up. It's a fun little underrated gem of a game that's way better than it gets credit for. Also, I can confidently say that it's probably the best game about surfing penguins that I've ever played, so that's definitely cool. So yeah man, check it out. 2005's God of War wasn't the first game of its kind, but it definitely gave the hack and slash action game a shot in the arm by blending together a formula that combined visceral chain weapon based combat, cinematic computer controlled camera angles, and an edgy angsty protagonist who goes every now and then. It was a formula that worked and was imitated by a ton of hack and slash action games from the mid to late 2000s. One of these games is 2007's Ghost Rider, a movie tie-in game based on the first live action Ghost Rider movie starring Nicolas Cage. It's a really fun action game that's way better than it gets credit for. The game takes the God of War formula, slaps it on the Ghost Rider license, and the result is a really lean, action-packed beat 'em up divided by effective, straight to the point levels. And even though the gameplay is very familiar, it fits the game's theme and aesthetic so perfectly that it's not a problem at all. God of War's flaming chain combat fits Ghost Rider perfectly because the Ghost Rider character has flaming chains too, and they feel great to use as you whip, juggle and slap waves of enemies for big satisfying combos. In addition to satisfying gameplay and tight pacing, Ghost Rider also diversifies its gameplay by adding vehicular combat to the game to represent Ghost Rider's motorbike riding shenanigans. These levels are fast, frantic, melee attack heavy chases that provide exciting, entertaining alternatives to the core gameplay. And as an added bonus to all of the fiery, fight-filled fun on offer, the game also offers Blade as an unlockable character once you've beaten it. Blade doesn't appear in nearly enough games, so being able to play as him in this specific gameplay style is a nice reward for finishing the game. Ghost Rider is a great 3D beat 'em up that's definitely worth playing. If you're looking for some good old fashioned late 2000s hack and slash action gameplay, Ghost Rider is definitely one to check out. You know, I'm really surprised that Klonoa didn't make it to the same level of popularity as characters like Pikachu or Sonic or Mario. I mean, look at him. He's aggressively adorable, has a memorable design, and even wears a cap that features an implied cosign from one of the most famous video game characters ever. Whatever the case, Klonoa has been the subject of some really good games over the years, and one of these games in particular that definitely deserves more attention is Klonoa 2: Lunity's Veil. The game is the third entry in the Klonoa series and the first and only entry in the Klonoa series on the PS2. And it uses the technological advances afforded by the PlayStation 2 to expand on everything the previous game did exponentially, taking the series to new heights in terms of scale and visual splendor. The result is a memorable, aesthetically charming and visually beautiful game that, despite being overlooked, is really worth playing. Klonoa 2 sees Klonoa going on an adventure in a strange new world filled with ethereal locations, strange obstacles and whimsical characters. But in spite of how fantastical things get, the game at its core stays simple, providing user-friendly pick-up and play mechanics throughout. The gameplay is a mix of 2D platforming and puzzle solving, and both of those elements are executed really well. The jumps and earwing assisted hovering feels nice and responsive, while the puzzles are surprisingly challenging at times despite being geared more towards younger gamers. Also, in addition to having solid gameplay mechanics, the game also has excellent presentation. Klonoa 2's visuals have aged incredibly well thanks to clean, colourful, cel-shaded graphics, cute character designs, and levels brimming with detail. The game was released in 2001, but visually it stands toe-to-toe with a lot of games that are coming out now. It just looks really good. Klonoa 2 sounds great as well. It has a charming soundtrack that remains smooth and laid back all the way through. Even intense moments like boss fights and chase sequences have a strangely chilled out vibe, and it suits the dreamlike atmosphere of the game really well. Klonoa 2 is well worth seeking out. It's an unsung PS2 classic. If you like platform games filled with charm, style and cuteness, give it a try. I think you'll like it. And yes, that's it, we're done. That's 3 underrated PlayStation 2 games and why you should play them. If you ever get a chance, just blow the dust off your PS2 and give these games a try. It would definitely be worth your time. And if there are any PlayStation 2 games that you feel are underrated, let me know about them in the comment section. It will be interesting to see what people consider to be unsung classics. And with that, we are done. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, I do really appreciate that. And if you like, feel free to subscribe to the channel because I've got some more videos coming up in the near future. Till then, time to go. See you next time.